Hey everybody, we wanted to put out a video so that you can kind of understand some of the things to expect and what things are going to look like when you show up for this Sunday. So if you will, stay with me. I'm going to try to talk you through some of the things that will be different for when you show up. The first thing, and probably the most obvious, is we are going to ask that everybody that attends wears a mask. We want that for several different reasons, but try to have one when you come. It'd make things a lot easier for sure. The second thing that we wanted y'all to know is as you come in the building, not all of the normal doors that are open are going to be open. In fact, there's only going to be two that are open, and that's the glass doors at the end of the long hallway and then the glass doors that open up into the foyer. Those are going to be the two entrances. Obviously, pick whichever one you want based on what side of the building you're parking in. And then we're actually going to exit through the two doors that are off of the auditorium. There's a door for each side. We're going to do that way just for a lot of different reasons, but we're going to exit through those doors. The other thing you need to know is there are going to be some areas that are going to be blocked off. When you come, things like kitchen areas, all those are going to be blocked off. You'll see they're going to be clearly labeled so that there's no confusion about where you need to go. There is one exception to that if we fill up the auditorium, keeping the social distancing rules, then we do have the Kirby building set up for a small overflow of people if for some reason we just have too many. That way people can still be able to participate. But if that's the case, we'll remove the barriers and we'll have ushers there walking you through and making sure you understand everything that's going on. There will be ushers as you come in the doors and come to the foyer. The ushers will walk people down to seats to make sure that we keep the social distancing as we seat. The elders will be doing that, so they'll be there to help us walk through that. The seating in the auditorium will be labeled where every other pew will be for either the first service or the second service. We wanted to do that for several reasons, so that there's not cross-contamination from the people that came in the one before, but then also to keep that 6-foot rule as we're seating in the auditorium. The bathrooms are going to be open, but they're going to be limited use, one person at a time. After each use, we're going to have somebody actually go in and wipe down the commonly touched surfaces. That way, hopefully we don't transmit any kind of germs through that. For the Lord's Supper, we're going to have the individual communion cups that a lot of y'all are very familiar with. They're going to be spread out on the pew. So when you sit down in the pew, just find as many as you need off of that pew, and you'll have those. We're going to take the Lord's Supper almost the next to last thing before we dismiss. That way you're not having to hold that cup for a long period of time. As soon as we dismiss, as you go out the doors, the exits, there's going to be a trash can there that you can throw away your leftover Lord's Supper cup. There will also be boxes by each of the exit doors for contribution. If you're one that's been writing your checks and you want to do that contribution in person, those boxes will be there for you to drop off your check or whatever it is that you're doing. Obviously, there will still be the online ways to give if that's what you prefer as well, but those are just there for convenience sake. One note about our singing. We've heard the different things saying that singing can be an issue. So we are going to ask that people still continue to wear a mask while we're singing. One of the things we're going to do to try to help make that singing a little different is we're going to have pre-recorded a cappella singing that people will have the option to sing along with if they want to. That will be a little different than what we're used to, but hopefully because of the distance space and whatnot, that'll be an easier thing for most people. We are going to ask that as you enter and exit that you keep your 6 foot from everybody as you enter and exit. If you want to fellowship with people, it's much preferred that you do that outside because of the open air and space you can maintain. If you want to talk to anybody, you want to carry on a conversation, try to take those outside either before or after the worship. As I mentioned before, we will have overflow in the Kirby building. Those bathrooms back there will be closed until we have to use the overflow for the Kirby building. The bathrooms in the main hallway will be the ones that we'll use. We will have people to wipe down certain surfaces between services. For example, the back of the pews that somebody may stand and put their hand on, that's going to be where someone's sitting for the next one. So we're going to have people walking through and wiping down to kill any germs that may remain there for the 20-30 minutes in between services. The last thing I wanted to say is that with all of this is a learning process for all of us. As you can see, when you look at the experts on all this, their opinions change, and we're learning as we go. There's still things that we're considering, such as having worship outside when the weather permits. We're still trying to find out what is best for us in our situation. We know that for many people, Being alone and being apart is definitely a dangerous, for at least on a spiritual sense, if nothing else, sense. And so that's why we're doing this. We want to make sure that you have the option. We don't want you to feel guilty to come or to not come. We want you to make that own risk assessment for yourself, and you decide what is best for you and for your family. But we're wanting to give you the option to do that by trying to open up worship in a safe way for everyone that's involved. We're going to do this for a couple of weeks, and then after that we're going to reassess to see if there's anything that needs to change, and then also we're going to consider opening up some of our other ministries and programs that we had going before. But we're going to give time to see how this goes before we start to do anything like that. We thank you so much for staying with us through all this and continuing to watch our videos. We hope that this time that we can have together will start to gather a sense of family again and start to getting us to where we can look out for each other the way that we try to do when we meet and we come together. Hopefully that gives you an idea of things to expect when you show up. And here we have a few things of maybe what you should not do when you show up.